Hey, what's up? So, boys, so everybody, welcome to the channel. Welcome to another banger. Welcome to another episode of our weekly market breakdowns. Today we looking at no, it's not US 30. Today we're looking at the Nasdaq. Boy. Looking at the Nasdaq. Anyway, I hope everybody been okay. I hope everybody been eating this money. Alright, boys, before we get into this banger, let's give a massive shout out to our broker, man, Trade 245. By far they literally like the smoothest platform I've ever used. Alright. They have like up to 245% bonus, bro. Standard and micro accounts. Very quick withdrawals, very fast withdrawals. This is the broker I trade with. I highly recommend this broker. Alright. So if y'all looking for the broker I use, I'll leave a link in the description. Alright. So now that's out of the way, let's get straight to business. Alright, so today, boys, we looking at the Nasdaq, right? So let me just hide everything. Alright, let's jump to our daily, so we just refresh our minds onto what has been happening or what like our overall structure is looking like, right? And what we can see right here is that Nasdaq has been moving in an uptrend, right, with like higher lows and higher highs, right, up until we had this market structure shift right here, right, and price broke this area, and just after breaking it went straight up. So at this point we're not really sure, or let me just say, at this point what we're trying to figure out is whether is the market completely going up straight to break the high to create new highs again, or is this a retracement or a retest to the structure break, right? I'm really not gonna draw it because it's in my previous videos, but because of the structure break, is the market retesting the structure break, right? So with that in mind, right, we will jump into our 4 hour just to have a clearer picture as what is going on at this area right here, right? So I jump to my 4 hour and we can we can easily see this our previous structure right here. This is our previous downtrend, right? This was our resistance, and this should be our support, right? So we see right here that the market broke our resistance, right, indicating that this downtrend might be over, right, and we might be looking into hitting here, right? That's what the 90% rule suggests, right? So at this point what we need to figure out is what we're doing. Are we continuing with the uptrend, right? Are we getting buys to continue to the 90% rule, or are we getting retracements, right? And as for me personally, at this point at where the price is, I would be looking for like potential sells and potential retracements, right? Just to get if I'm getting the buys, I like to get the buys at a preferably a much lower price than this. So at this point I will be looking for shorts, right, like retracements, so I could potentially catch the buys at a fairly discount price, right? So with this structure break, the market then created this uptrend structure, right, and this will mark our resistance, and this point right here, yeah, this point right here will be our support, I mean resistance. All right, it's fairly clear, but I will mark it out as to why. All right here, it's acted as support, acted as resistance right here, it acted as resistance right here. So we basically waiting for it to act as resistance again. All right, somewhere here we change this, so you know we actually, right. So with that in mind, right, I ultimately had a bias whether I'll be looking for shorts, right? So with this, I'm basically looking for points at where to take my shorts, right? And I always say, well, rules are you buy at support, you sell at resistance. Those are like the basic principles, right? So price at the moment is chasing my resistance, right? So with this, I already see a point of interest where I will be looking for shorts is when price gets to my resistance, right? But because we'll be looking, we need like further confluence and further confirmation, right? We need to look for other things that would validate our bias, right? So what we would generally look at is further support and resistance areas, right? We do have dynamic support and resistance. Right now we'll be looking for what most people would say is like zones, or your traditional support and resistance, right? Like horizontal lines, where like places where the market touched and reversed, places where the market had major reactions, or places where the market had support and resistance, right? That's where I would look at. So I usually go to my daily, like higher time frame zones work wonderfully, right? So on my daily, I easily spotted this place, well, this area, as my local resistance, right? Because this is an area which acted as, oh shit, this is an area which acted as both support and resistance. As we can see here, it acted as resistance, right? This point right here, it acted as support, right? And quite recently, it also acted as resistance. So it's a fairly valid zone to mark out as our resistance area. So this will be our local resistance, right? And we need to also find our local support. And right here, right, this will be our local support, right? And kind of like our resistance, right? It's fairly the same. I will look at places where the market touched first, places which acted as both support and resistance, right? And we can see it acted as resistance right here, and it also acted as support. And right here, if you jump into like much lower time frame, but I will use this because this place is our recent it's where price has recently touched and up, right? Which further validates it as our support, right? So with that, I will jump into my 4-hour and just adjust it a little bit. And as we can see, right, this further validates our bias, right? This further proves that our point of interest, our resistance area right here, also meets our local resistance right here, right? So this would be a very optimum position to look for short positions. So what I will be generally looking at tomorrow. Tomorrow is Monday. Well, shall we generally looking at tomorrow or the next week or the week ahead as price to move up to my zone right here, touch both my resistance areas, and then I will enter my short positions straight to support again, right? But what I will be looking at is what price does when it reaches my point of interest, which is right here. All right, I will be looking for possible rejections, possible reversal patterns, right? I will be jumping into lower time frames just to look for possible like chart patterns and everything like that to further prove that price is indeed rejecting this area and it wants to move down, right? So that is basically my plan for the upcoming week on the Nasdaq. All right, pretty simple. If y'all enjoy the content, man, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. All right, it actually motivates me to do more of these. All right, so till the next one, boys. Love and peace always.